This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News. News-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Hi everyone, my name is Kiarra and I'm a visual artist and writer. This video that I have made is going to be featuring photographs that I took at the Donald Trump rally that came to St. Louis, Missouri this month, March 2016. It took place at the Peabody Opera House. The only sound that you will hear in this video is just me telling about my experience being in the rally. So, thank you for watching this video and enjoy the story and the photographs. Thank you. I was on my way to work. It was about 8:36 a.m. The night before, I had made a Donald Trump protest poster that was basically a parody of Mary Had a Little Lamb. I knew that it would either be received well or not well received because in the poem I associated Donald Trump with the Ku Klux Klan. I wasn't saying that he was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. I was basically saying that he had the KKK mentality. You do not have to be a member of a hate group to have the mentality of a hate group. So in my poem, I associated the two groups together and tried to use high vocabulary, and I also tried my best not to use profanity because I knew there would be children there and I didn't want to use anything profane so they would learn new words. So, as I was saying, it was 8:36 a.m. I wasn't expecting anybody to be outside of the Peabody Opera House because the rally started at noon. But when my stop came, and it was by the Peabody Opera House, I saw that there were protesters there already, and there were Trump supporters there already. It was hard to find the protesters because at that time of day, it was a small cluster of them. So if I'd say like maybe 20 or so. So I didn't see where they were because I didn't hear them. They were being basically drowned out by the Donald Trump supporters. I don't know how many supporters were there that early, but it was a lot. I would say there were more than 50 that I could see because they might have been further along down the sidewalk. In the middle between the protesters and the supporters were just like officers and security. The media was there and they were asking us questions. Questions like, how has Donald Trump offended you? Who are you voting for? What do you think Donald Trump stands for? And we were giving our opinions. So I spoke to two different people, but I can't remember who they were. I really can't remember, but I was in a rush. I stayed there a little while, made some friends, then I headed off to work. So at 11:50 something, maybe 11:55, I took an early lunch break. And my goal was to stay at the rally just 1 hour during my lunch break, but I ended up staying over 2 hours. When I was walking down the street, there was this music coming from somewhere. It was the leader of the pack. And I thought it was coming from a car, but it was coming from the Peabody Opera House. So apparently Donald Trump had this whole playlist, and he was just playing all of this different music. So when I came to the Peabody Opera House, the protesters had multiplied, but so had the supporters. So there were more protesters than before, but there were even more supporters. The line of the supporters was so long, it literally just wrapped around the street. Like, I don't know if they cut through the parking lot or if they literally wrapped all the way around, but it was a very, very long line. Now, some of the people in line were not supporters. Some of them were actually protesters in disguise. Others were media, and others were just there because they just wanted to hear him, and they had no no one that they were voting for in particular. So the protesters, I could hear them. So they were a bit louder because they were more in number, and they were basically just chanting and holding their signs. And the only time I ever saw any arguments was when when a Donald Trump supporter would come up and just like try to argue or something. Like I saw one guy, it was a man of African descent, and he was wearing a Make America Great hat. Or Make America Great Again, or whatever, hat. So he was just standing there. He went into the protesters and was like asking them, just like, I guess, debating with them, and it just started this whole debate because they couldn't understand why a black man was wearing a Make America Great Again hat, especially after the language that Donald Trump was using against people of color, people of different religious backgrounds, all of that. So they kept asking him, why are you choosing this? Why are you choosing him as your candidate? And he said, I am not black, I am American. So one guy said, well, when Donald Trump sees you, you're not American, you're just a black guy. He doesn't care if you're wearing the hat or not. So that was a whole debate. So they were arguing. Some of the Trump supporters were very polite. If you come to me politely, then, I'll be polite to you. If you're rude to me, I'll be very snarky, but I'm not going to yell at you. So one of the supporters came up and was trying to question me about my sign, which I expected. And he's like, well, what do you mean Donald Trump is with the Klan? And I said, he has the Klan mentality. And he's like, well, just because one of his, I guess it was somebody that was backing him up financially had ties with the Klan. He's like, so-and-so had ties with the Klan, but Donald Trump didn't know that he had ties. I'm like, how do you, if you're a business person, if you're on such a large scale, you always know the background of your people. You find out dirt on them before the media finds out that dirt about them. But I'm like, he knew, and so the guy stopped trying to argue with me, and he was arguing with two girls of African descent about the president for some reason. I don't know. He was like, he didn't go to Nancy Reagan's funeral. And I was like, this has nothing to do with the rally, but okay. So I'm standing there. People are taking pictures of the signs. Some of the people looked disgusted with the signs. Some of them laughed. A lot of the signs are kind of funny. Some were sweet. Some had profanity. It was all different types of signs. So, as the rally went on, a lot of people's tempers started going up. So not all of us could get into the Peabody Opera House because apparently all of the tickets had been, I guess, not bought because the tickets were free, but a lot of the tickets had been given away. So some of the people that had gotten the tickets just got it so there'd be empty seats. Others went in just to protest. So we were outside and we were listening to Donald Trump speak. From what I could hear, I had to listen to his speech later that night on YouTube. But it was really strange because I was literally trying to listen to what he was saying, but none of it made any sense. Like, I was trying to be very objective and see if he could give any details about anything, but his language was so vague, I couldn't really make a decision. The only thing that he was specific about was the wall that he wanted Mexico to build. Something about being 1,000 miles long and all of that. So nobody was really listening except in snippets. More so people were just arguing with each other. So one guy, he was a white guy in his 20s, I'm assuming, and he just came into the crowd and was like, well, what intelligent reason can you give me not to vote for Trump? You're just yelling F Trump, but what intelligent reason do you have? And so they said, what intelligent reason do you have to vote for Trump? And he's like, I asked you first. So it was just a mess. Then there were about several fistfights. I only saw 3. One guy's face ended up bloody, and I don't know why he was fighting I don't know who he was fighting or what caused it, but a lot of people were angry. The only argument I really got into was with this man of African descent that called this Muslim girl a terrorist. And I said, what are you doing? Like, you're assuming she's a terrorist because of how she looks. But you're a black man, okay? Donald Trump would do the same thing to you. And he's like, she's a terrorist. And so she started arguing with him. And I had to explain to him that if you're a Muslim, you can look like anything. You can be Chinese and be Muslim. You can be black and be Muslim, or of African descent and be Muslim. You can be Spanish and be Muslim, just like you can be Chinese and be Christian. You can be of African descent and be Christian, or Buddhist, or anything that you want. Yet he's over here calling her a terrorist. So there was just a lot of hateful language, especially coming from the supporters towards people. So, and of course, the protesters were angry and they were cursing out people too. So everybody was basically mad. And then here comes Neil. Neil is the guy in town that dresses up like Jesus. So he was there. He wasn't on any side. He's always peaceful. So when the rally ended, during the Trump speech, he kept being interrupted by Black Lives Matters protesters and different protesters, and he was just really, really pissed off about that and telling them, get out, get them out, throw them out, throw them out. He really should see the speech that he did at the Peabody. So at the end of the rally, all of the people came out, most of his supporters. So I was trying to just do like some type of demographic of what his supporters looked like. As far as like people of African descent that I saw, there was maybe that weren't protesters that were supporters. I saw at least 10 or so, but they weren't in groups. They were all scattered throughout. Like one was a girl in an interracial relationship. One was a boy with all of his friends. And I don't know, it was just not enough. Most of them were older to younger white people of all ages. Like some were teenagers, some were not elderly but older, maybe in their 60s or so. Some were even younger than that, in their 20s. They were all ages, and they all had the sign the silent majority supports Trump. That's the one thing that really stood out to me. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, why are you silent? It's your right to speak. So you should have the right to speak, but for some reason you're in hiding, you're afraid. Are you afraid because of his language? Because his rhetoric seems very hateful, but I don't know. So that is my experience that I had there. It was just, I don't think I ever want to go to another one of his rallies ever again. It was just too intense. Like you don't realize how angry people are or how full of hate somebody is until something like that is brought to the surface. That shows me that this country has not healed from anything. It hasn't healed from anything, not from the antebellum South Civil War. It's just not healed of anything. And it probably never will heal because it still wants to persecute people of African descent and other groups. I believe that the people that came out to support Donald Trump, because they came from all areas, like some of them came from St. Charles, some drove all the way from Jefferson City, some lived right there in St. Louis City, so they had come out to support him. But as I said, why are you hiding? It is your right to speak. Sometimes people who are racist will come out if they feel as if they have a spokesperson. Just like people came out for Bull Connor, people came out for all these different people during the Civil Rights Movement because they felt safe. They felt like they had a spokesperson. So perhaps that is why the sign said the silent majority, because you don't want to show yourself because you know people are going to disagree with what you're saying. You can't just say, I'm going to build a wall, I'm going to isolate this country from other nations, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and not acknowledge the people who are already here, who built the country. But that is just my opinion. So thank you for watching this video, and have a wonderful day.